Most men live their relationships blind. They assume loyalty is simple. If she's here, she's committed. If she leaves, it's because she suddenly fell out of love. That illusion is why breakups feel like car crashes. 1 second you're cruising, the next you're wrecked. But here's the truth. Endings are not collisions. They're calculations. She didn't suddenly stop loving you. She didn't accidentally fall into someone else's arms. By the time she left, she was already gone. What you saw as a shock was actually the conclusion of a long, quiet process she engineered step by step. While you were still thinking everything was fine. The myth of sudden loss. Men imagine relationships as houses that collapse in storms. Lightning strikes, thunder roars, and the roof comes off in one night. But relationships end more like erosion. The water is eating the rock long before you notice. The cliff edge is crumbling silently for years before it finally gives way under your feet. By the time she said, "We need to talk," the structure wasn't cracking. It was already rubble. You just hadn't seen the collapse yet. The corporate exit. Think about the corporate world. No ambitious employee quits without a new job in place. They interview in secret. They update their resume quietly. They accept an offer before they hand in their resignation. Why? Because leaving without security is suicide. Most women apply the same principle to relationships. She doesn't walk out until she has a landing pad. Not necessarily another man, but another structure. Emotional support, social stability, financial backup, or a romantic candidate already waiting in the wings. That's why it feels like she moved on overnight. She didn't. She transferred smoothly. You just weren't aware of the transfer. Why your promises came too late. After she leaves, men bargain. "I'll change. I'll listen more. I'll step up. I'll finally become the man you needed." But those promises land too late. Why? Because in her mind, they're internal promotions inside a company she's already resigned from. Meanwhile, the other man, or the new life she's envisioning, looks like an external offer with a higher salary, better benefits, a new office view. You're offering incremental improvement. He represents a leap. And in human psychology, leaps always feel more seductive than tweaks. The portfolio principle. Most men invest in one relationship as if it's their only stock. They assume loyalty means she does the same. But many women quietly maintain what economists call options. Old friendships rekindled, DMs left slightly open, casual contacts that seem harmless but are kept alive. She doesn't call it cheating. She calls it keeping connections. But to her, those connections are insurance policies. You thought you were her whole portfolio. You were just her largest position. Why she sometimes downgrades men lose their minds when she leaves for someone who looks worse, less attractive, less stable, less successful. But this is where men misunderstand female strategy. She isn't just measuring resources. She's measuring readiness. A man just out of a long relationship already has training. He's practiced in partnership, communication, conflict, compromise. He's prepackaged for commitment. You, on the other hand, were still in the middle of training camp. You put in the years of work, and she handed the finished product to someone else. It feels irrational, but to her, it's efficient. The biological timer. Here's the layer most men never factor in. Time doesn't weigh equally on men and women. A man can spend 5 years in a dead-end relationship and still step into the dating market at 40 or 50 with leverage. A woman doesn't get that window. biology, fertility, and social pressure compress her timeline. That's why she doesn't linger. She doesn't take a year to find herself. She reallocates quickly, because every month wasted feels like ground lost. You think she's cold for moving on so fast. She thinks you're naive for believing time isn't an enemy. Social leverage. A woman in a relationship is more attractive than a woman who's single. Why? Because relationships act as social proof. If another man has committed, her value rises in the eyes of others. Scarcity creates demand. This is why she rarely leaves without backup. She doesn't want to step from abundance into scarcity. She times her exit so her leverage remains intact. What felt like betrayal to you was, in her mind, strategic timing. The emotional economy. Here's the final piece that men never grasp. You mourn. You replay memories. You bleed for months. She reallocates. While you're grieving, she's already investing her emotions in someone new, or in a new identity, or in a new vision of life. It's not because she didn't feel. It's because she manages feelings like assets. When one investment crashes, she cuts her losses and moves capital elsewhere. You stay trapped in the past. She reinvests in the future. The system, not the villain. It's tempting to paint women as cold or ruthless, but this isn't villainy, it's adaptation. It's the strategy that social, biological, and cultural pressures have drilled into them. The mistake isn't theirs. The mistake is yours for assuming love was unconditional permanence instead of conditional alignment. What men must do. So what's the answer? Not bitterness, not cynicism, not hatred. The answer is awareness. 1. See relationships as contracts, not destinies. Contracts can be beautiful, but they have terms. When the terms fail, they end. That's not cruelty. It's clarity. 2. Keep leverage. Build a life so rich that no single relationship defines you. Friends, purpose, mastery, health. A man with multiple pillars doesn't crumble when one collapses. 3. Read early signals. Attention drops. Energy shifts. Communication dries up. Don't dismiss these. They are not quirks. They are the fuse burning. 4. Exit with dignity. Don't beg for scraps. Don't fight to be rehired at a company that already replaced you. Walk away while you still have respect. The breakup didn't happen the night she left. It happened the day she stopped investing. The day she started scanning. The day she silently reallocated her emotional capital. You were the last to know. Because you were never meant to know until the deal was done. Stop asking if he was better than you. Start asking why you ignored the signs. Because the game isn't personal. It's systemic. And once you see the system clearly, you finally get to play it on your terms. Not as the man blindsided, but as the man awake. This isn't just a rewrite. It's an upgrade into a masterclass, weaving in economics, biology, psychology, and metaphors that make the truth unavoidable.